that deadly U.S. military strike on an alleged drug cartel boat with ties to Venezuela. It's escalating already rising tensions in the region. President Trump celebrated the attack by releasing this video, which shows the moment a boat was blown up in the southern Caribbean. 11 on board were killed. Administration officials say the boat left Venezuela loaded with drugs on a well-known drug trafficking route. The Trump administration has set its sights on the Venezuelan president, accusing him of heading a drug cartel in his country, calling it a terrorist organization.
The president's been very clear that he's going to use the full power of America and the full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over.
Joining me now to discuss, Mariana Atencio, a freelance journalist who actually fled Venezuela to the U.S. almost 17 years ago. Welcome to CNN this morning.
Adi, thank you for having me.
Okay, so we've seen an actual military strike, and this was happening as Nicolas Maduro was kind of already on edge, trying to use this war rhetoric. Can you give me some context of how this escalated so quickly?
So, Adi, we have seen a level of tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela that we haven't seen in years. Essentially, Trump has mobilized around 8 boats, a submarine, and almost 5,000 Marines to the southern Caribbean to combat drugs that leave through Venezuela. Venezuela, because of its geographic location, is the perfect transit country for these drugs to leave for Europe and the United States. So it's not a producer, it's a transit country. But things really escalated as the Trump administration, plain and simple, named Nicolas Maduro the leader of this drug cartel that uses the full power of the executive and the military to transport these drugs. The DEA has been kicked out of the country since 2005. And as the rhetoric escalates, we're seeing these tensions build up in the Southern Caribbean as both nations respond.
Can you give us a sense of what international community thinks about this? Do people say the same about Maduro in terms of the drug industry there, as you said, being a hub for transport?
All Venezuelans, Adi, have known for years that the Maduro regime is a narco cartel, that they lead essentially a cartel called the Cartel of the Suns. And that is because of the sun insignia emblazoned in military uniforms. Latin America and the Caribbean, however, is very divided along ideological lines. So you will see countries like Colombia, like Mexico, not have such a harsh stance against the Maduro regime. Also think about that this is a country that still produces some oil, so they tend to buy loyalties around the region. And we saw that last year. Maduro's not a legitimate president. He's a de facto dictator. He stole elections last year, and the international community didn't pressure him and his regime enough to produce the evidence of his supposed win, because again, many of these countries always vote along ideological lines. But we know this is sort of a rogue nation. 8 million people, including myself and many of my family members, Adi, have left because of the humanitarian crisis there. So you're seeing also a country that has become the #1 source of asylum seekers to the United States. So for the Trump administration, this is not only a drug problem, this is also a migration problem. And these are, as you know, President Trump's top domestic priorities.
Mariana Atencio, thank you so much.
Thank you, Adi.